So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick information if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thank you for the confirmation, everyone. So before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself to you all first. So my name is Neeraj Kedia, and I've been working in this domain for around 14 years now, working as a chief solutions architect for designing enterprise solutions for different industry verticals, including insurance, retail, banking, pharmaceutical, aviation, and location-based services. And mostly I've been active in the market as a corporate trainer since last 5 years now as well, where I have been training the workforce of companies including Accenture, Mercedes, eBay, Capgemini, Adobe, Credit Suisse, NIT, Grab, among others, in training them on different technologies, specifically in cloud computing, on AI/ML, and big data engineering technologies. So that's in a nutshell of what I've been doing for more than 14 years now. So before we proceed further, we are going to let's discuss the guidelines for the sessions. We are going to have a continuous discussion on a given topic straight for 15-20 minutes. Then we'll be having a quick Q&A on that topic. Again, a continuous discussion on the topic, and again a Q&A, so that we can maintain a balance between taking up the questions and also discussing the topic that we have planned for the session. And second pointer, so kindly refrain from asking questions that are not a part of the ongoing topic. So for example, let's say we are discussing on the pipeline syntax, then please feel free to ask as many questions as you want and you can on the topic. I will be more than happy to address your queries there. But if you ask something that has nothing to do with the ongoing topic, then that will create confusion for others as well as, and again, which is something that we don't want. So we can keep all those queries which has nothing to do with the ongoing topic towards the end, so that we can answer them out. And by default, we have kept everyone on mute by default, so to avoid any kind of background noises or disturbances in between. So if you have any question, then please post your questions in the chat window. And if you have anything that needs to be clarified, then you can simply go ahead and ask to be unmuted, so I can put you on mute, and then we can have a discussion on a query going forward. Just a moment. All right, so the main agenda for today's session is to discuss on infrastructure as a code by using Jenkins. So if we talk about Jenkins, then Jenkins is one of the core tool offered for CI and CD. So we have the tool offered in terms of Jenkins. So when you talk about a CI, Jenkins is one of the most popular platform for CI and CD. Then CI CD simply refers to continuous integration and continuous deployment. So basically, in simple layman terms, if we talk about the usage of Jenkins, then Jenkins is used for making sure that we are having a complete automated setup for deployment of solutions on cloud or either on the on-premise systems by using the DevOps cycle methods. For example, to understand the concept of pipeline, which is going to be deployed by Jenkins, we can take the help of our annotation. So using Jenkins, what we do, we simply go ahead and make use of a pipeline. So basically, a pipeline is what? Pipeline is basically an automated sequence of given steps that needs to be executed one after the other. For example, suppose we have a team of developers. We have a team of developers. For example, we had developer 1, we had developer, now here it can be multiple developers, developer 2, they get developer N, and they all are working on the same application, and then they are pushing the code and storing them in a centralized repository, like we have GitHub or code commit if we are using AWS Cloud. And then we want to have a system that should automatically pull the code from the repository. For example, developer 1 has completed his or her part of the application, and developer 1 has pushed the code and save it in this repository. So the code is going to be available here, and then the developer 1 is now we want that whatever code has been submitted by this developer, that should be automatically pulled by the pipeline that we have defined in the CI/CD platform, in the continuous integration platform, like we have Jenkins. So in Jenkins, we simply define this as a part of the pipeline. In pipeline, we can define multiple steps to be executed, and that to in a given sequence as required. So for example, suppose let's say here we are talking about the pipeline. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pull the code which has been submitted by the developers here. So you can see here we have to pull the code, and then once the code has been pulled, so again it can be pulled from the same repository or it can be pulled from any other repository as well. So we can define GitHub, we can define the support for GitLab and so on. It can be any other repository that we have the access to. Just a moment. All right, so we can have a pipeline where we can allow the code to be pulled from the repository. And then as a next step, we can have the build created out of it. For example, if this is a Java-based application, so in order to make use of the Java-based application, we have to create a build out of it. And for that build itself, we have to use different platforms. There are multiple platforms that we can use. Like we can make use of Maven, Gradle, Apache, and so on. We can use those platforms for creating a build. And then after the build has been created, then we can go ahead and make use of, we can go ahead and simply make use of the other tools that we have. Now, if we want to test out the setup, so what we can do is we can go ahead and make use of the tools that we have Selenium. So we can attach the testing script from Selenium and from other platforms directly here. And then once we are done with that, then we can simply have the code pushed to multiple deployment, or we can say staging servers that we have here. For example, here we have a staging server built on top of Docker or any of the virtual servers. We can have them pushed on these different environments accordingly. So this is what we do by using a pipeline, and there's not a single pipeline step that, or you can say structure, that is followed by all the team here. They are simply going to be different pipelines suitable for different purposes. And this is what we do by using Jenkins. We create a pipeline that should automatically pull the code from a repository, create a build out of it by using tools that we have Maven, Apache, and Gradle, and then have them deployed as required. So this is what we mean by a pipeline setup, and Jenkins is used as to provide this pipeline as a, we can say in pipeline as a code service of to multiple developers out there so that they can work accordingly. So first of all, are we all clear on the concept of pipeline? Please give me a quick information, everyone, so that we can proceed further to see how exactly we can set up Jenkins and create this kind of pipeline-based project. Just give me a quick information, everyone. Great. Thank you for the confirmation. Great. Thank you for the confirmation. So now as a part of our setup, we are going to have Jenkins installed first. So as a part of our hands-on, we are going to make use of this AWS cloud so that we can see how exactly we can set it up. And then we are going to, once we have Jenkins set up, then we are going to create a pipeline script by using Groovy as a part of the hands-on. So we are going to deploy this.
Neeraj, you're not audible.
Yes, so we are just deploying the instance, just a moment.
भैया लैपटॉप पे नहीं छूना है कुछ, है ना? हमारी मीटिंग चल रही है। भाई कहाँ गई तेरी मेरी? तुतरिया नाम है क्या? भैया माहिर, एक मिनट।
Someone is on mute, so kindly please check the mic, everyone, in case you are on mute. Thank you. So here we had deployed a simple virtual machine running Ubuntu instance, and in that instance we are going to set up Jenkins first, and then we are going to create a pipeline-based project. Let this be deployed. So we can name this instance as Jenkins. So in order to get connected to these kind of instances, we can make use of the SSH baseline. Like we have mobile server, we can make use of PuTTY, or if we are using Windows 10 or the Mac OS or Linux based operating systems, we can also make use of your current terminal as well. So it hasn't been deployed yet. That means again the status check has not been done yet. So we are going to wait for a minute more. So I'm not going to speak for a while. So let's wait for a minute more.
Hi Neeraj. Meanwhile, you can answer the questions while the process is going on. People are asking questions on the chat window.
All right, so now the deployment is done. So now we can go back. So here we can first of all modify the key pair that we have the access to. So the key file that we have downloaded has been named as Jenkins new.pem. And then we can use SSHI with the users, and then we have the same. So based on the AMI, we have a default list of the usernames. Just a moment. All right, so once we have So Jenkins, as we had discussed, again, it simply works on top of JDK because it is built on top of Java. So before we can set up Jenkins, we have to make sure that we can install, we do have JDK installed. It can be either version 8 or it can be either version 11. So we can install this by running the command as sudo apt-get install open JDK -8 JDK. And then there are some common set of commands that we can use for installation of Jenkins, which can be found on the Jenkins official website. So here we can choose the environment as Ubuntu. So first thing first, we have to download the package that we have to make use of. We can download it. So we can copy this. And by using sudo privileges, we are going to simply enter this. We can copy this. So basically, this is what we are doing here. We are simply adding the Jenkins package to the apt-get library manager available in AWS. So once we are done with this, so here we are going to re-update. That means here we are going to resync all the services that we have set so that Jenkins package that we downloaded can be installed here. So once done, so here we are going to use sudo apt get install, and then we can install Jenkins by using Jenkins UI as a package. Let this be installed. All right, so this is done. So once this is done, so we can go ahead and open the public IP address of the instance that we have set up. And then by using port 8080, we would be able to see the Jenkins setup page. So this is going to ask us to enter the default password. So the default password is available in this particular location. So here we can use sudo cat to get the content of the file. So this contains a one-time password that we have to copy from here. And under the admin password, we can enter that. And here we can choose from the plugins, the default plugins that we have to go ahead and install, so that these will be installed here. So here we can enter the credentials that we want to make use of. And then we can click on save and continue. So this is going to be the default user who is going to have the admin access to Jenkins setup that we have done. So now we can click on start using Jenkins. So here we can click on start using Jenkins, and this is going to open up the Jenkins dashboard. Now to start creating a pipeline as a part of example, we are going to make use of a Maven based project. So for that, we are going to first of all download and install Maven based configuration plugin. So for that, we can click on Manage Jenkins. Here we can click on Manage Plugins. And under Manage Plugins, we are going to search for the Available tab. And within Available tab, we can search for Build Pipeline. So this is going to be a pipeline plugin that we can use for creating a pipeline view. And along with that, we can also create a pipeline-based project where we can use a Groovy-based script to have the pipeline created and set up. So let this be configured. And we can click on Restart Jenkins once the installation is done. So this is going to have Jenkins restarted. Let this be logged in again. So now, in order to start creating a pipeline based on a given script, we can navigate to the section called as New Item. And in here, we are going to create a pipeline that is going to fetch the code from our GitHub repository. So that is basically a sample address book application built on top of Java. And as a part of the build setup, we are going to make use of Maven. So before we can include Maven as one of these stages in the pipeline, we are going to install Maven as a plugin. So for that, we can click on Manage Jenkins. And here we can click on Global Tool Configuration. Now, since Maven has already been installed as a plugin, so we are going to navigate to Global Tool Configuration. And then we can see we have Gradle and Maven already installed. So if we are working on a project where we need to have different versions of Maven installed, so we can define that. So let's say here we have Maven 3.8.4 that we can allow Jenkins to download directly from Apache, and we can define that. And if you want to add another plugin, for example, let's say for the same project, we need to have different versions of Maven installed. So for example, again, we can click on Maven installation. Now we want to add one more. So here we can click on Add Maven. And suppose here we want to maintain Maven, suppose 3.6.1. So we can choose from the drop down. So what we are doing here for the same system, we are maintaining different versions of Maven as we speak. So once we are done with this setup, so we can simply go ahead and click on Save. Once done, so now we can go ahead and click on the global tool configuration again. Click on Maven. So now we can see we have two versions of Maven configured. So whenever we are going to create a build, we can choose which is the exact version of Maven we want to go forward with. So once we are done with this, so now we can go back to our dashboard. And here we can click on New Item. So as discussed, we are going to create one pipeline script where we are going to pull the code from our GitHub repository, and we are going to build it by using Maven. So let's say here we can call this one as pipeline demo, and here we can choose pipeline based project. Click on OK. If you want, we can also create multi-branch pipeline, where if we have multiple branches defined in our Git repository, then we can have different, we can say deployments done based on the branch selection here. So here we can define that. Now, once we are done with this, so what we can do is, sorry. Now, once we are done with this, so we can simply choose the pipeline skill that we want to work. If you want to have the build created periodically, that means if you want to have a build created every 5 minutes or every so, So we can choose the periodic build. Right now we want to go for manual build. So we can keep it in manual here, keep the periodic build disabled. Now here we are going to start by defining a script. If we have a script already available with us, saved in one of the repository, we can define the repository URL as well. And from the repository, if the script is available by the name of Jenkins file, then we can have it pulled, or we can simply copy and paste the script here as well. So we are going to make use of a simple script. So for that, we can simply design a script locally that we can import into our project. So let's say here we can save the file as Jenkins file. Now, just like we don't have any kind of, we can say format or we can say extension for Docker files, same way we don't have any extensions for Jenkins file. So here we are going to define for the user bin environment, and here we are going to make use of Groovy based environment here. So here we are going to import, let's say, Hudson.model. We are going to import, let's say, Hudson.environment variables. We are going to import Groovy.json.json slurper classic, and then we are also going to import Groovy.json.json builder, and then import Groovy.json.json output, and then import java.net.url. Now, once we're done with this, so now we are going to simply define try block here. Now, within try, we can define which node we want the project to be executed on. So within node, we can define multiple stages. So as a part of the pipeline script, a pipeline is defined as multiple stage pipeline. That means we have multiple steps. For example, we have to have a build stage. We have to have a, we can say, testing stage. We want to have the compilation stage. And then within the given stage, we can have n number of steps that we can have executed. So we can define that. For example, the first stage is to pull the code from the repository. Same thing that we had discussed in our annotation mode. We have to have the code pulled from the repository. So for that, we can suppose give a name. Now, stage name can be anything. Checkout 1, 2, 3. Any random name can be given here. So then we can define the git based plugin here. So here we can define this one as one of our own repository. So we have a sample project that we can work with. So if we navigate to our GitHub, so we have this DevOps class codes, which contains a simple address book application that we are going to work with. So we are going to copy this repository URL that we are going to make use of as a script. So we can define git and the repository URL that should end with .git. Or we can since we are already defining this for git itself, so what we can do is we can simply do away with git. And then once we are done with this stage, so as you can see here, we are defining stage, and then we define where exactly we have to have the code checked out from. Now we want to have a build created out of it, so we can create another stage for build. And then we can define the directory of the build from where the code has to be built. So you can define the directory, and then by using the shell script, suppose we want to make use of Maven, and by using Maven, we want to have the build created. So let's suppose here we want to have a clean package created. So we can define the clean package to be created here. And then afterwards, we can define a stage. Suppose let's say here we want to send out an email after the build has been successful. So we can define a stage for email. And then here we can define the email text. Suppose here we want to attach the log. Log has to be in camel case. So attach log as in whatever the output of this build is going to be, we want to attach it as a log. And then we can define the status here, the status of the build. The status of the build can be obtained from the build log attached with this mail. That is, this is the actual mail that is going to be sent to the users as we speak. And after the mail, we are here we can simply include subject as well. So subject can be the build update is, and then we can define to whom this is going to be sent to. For example, let's say we want to send this to any email address, and again that has to be defined here as abc@gmail.com or example.com. It can be any domain name. So once we are done with this stage, so let's say here next we want to define a stage for deployment. So we can define stage and the name can be defined as deployment. And now we want to define the deployment script. For example, here we can have a script that we want to execute. So suppose here we want to run the deployment script here, so we can define deployment and then we can have it executed. Now, once we're done with deployment here, so now we are going to define the shell script. Suppose here we want to copy the file. So we have the default file available under var library. And suppose here we have Jenkins, and then we may have workspace in Jenkins. Now we have included a package here. For example, under the target folder, we have this address book .var file which is uploaded there, and now we want to copy this from opt and then under Tomcat under web apps. So we have to make sure again the project should be having the folder or against the files available under web apps, which is running on Tomcat server. So Tomcat should be installed. In case it is not, then we can simply have the image pulled from Tomcat, and then we can define another stage. Suppose here we want to have the report published, then we can define publish HTML report, and then we can define what exactly should be the content of the report. So here we define suppose as, let's say, publishing HTML report. Or for reporting we can also make use of different tools. So for example, suppose here we want to publish the HTML, so here we can use publish HTML. And here we are going to allow the message. So here we define allow missing, which is going to be set as false, not false, it could be false. And then we can define always link to last build, which is going to set to false. And then if you want to keep all, you can define this one as false as well. The report directory where all the reports are going to be generated, so we can keep it to default report directory. Then we can define report files, which is going to be for index.html, and then the report name that we are going to generate is going to be HTML report, and then we can define the report titles is going to be blank. Report titles, and these it's going to be a single thing as report titles, and these are again going to be the blank values. All right, so once we are done, so now we can define the last stage as cleanup. So once we are done, we have to simply wrap up everything, and we can define a cleanup. And the cleanup we can define echo as in cleanup up the workspace that we have here, and then we can define clean workspace. Which is basically a predefined function available. And then towards the end, we can close the node, we can close the try node, and then we can define the finally block. So if you want to have the current build defined, so we can define current build dot result. If it is not going to be aborted, if the result is not going to be aborted, and the node is simply going to be the master node. We can define a condition by using the AND logic. So then we can define the email notification. So for that we can define the class. The class is going to be mailer, and then we are going to define notify every user, or can say every unstable build for the same. We can set this to true, and then we can find recipients. That means who exactly are the ones who are going to receive this. So suppose here we have abc@gmail. So usually these are the sysOps team that needs to be notified, and then we can define send to in the visual. So we can set this value to true as well. So we need to make sure that whatever we define here, that should be defined, and there should not be any kind of errors that we have defined. So we only have to make sure again the address book file that we have defined here should be available in the remote machine that we are currently working on, and plus it should also have the Tomcat server installed. If not, then we can deploy this as a part of a container-based image that can be worked upon. If you all want, I can just share the script with you all, so you can also use it as at your end as a reference. So I'm going to share this in the chat window. Here you go. So you can do one thing, you can save it at your end. So whenever you are going to have the same pipeline created, you can go ahead and apply it accordingly. So Vibhas, again, these are the attributes when we are going to create the Maven-based projects here. So first of all, are we all clear on the script that we had defined here? Please give me a quick information, everyone. Since this is not going to be our first session, so obviously it is not going to be easier to grasp everything. But again, this is going to be just a glimpse of what we are going to look at as we proceed further. We are also going to look at how we can combine multiple freestyle projects together, and then you are going to have a better understanding of the same. All right. So because of short amount of time that we have here, so that's why we are not able to complete the hands-on that we had planned. So we can simply have the script executed and make sure that whatever script we have defined here, it should be running on top of server, having the Tomcat and the other servers configured, then only we'll be able to deploy it. That's how it is going to be. So we are going to resume from the same point in our subsequent sessions, everyone. And first of all, a big thank you to you all for being a part of this entire session. And as always, if you really enjoyed today's session, then please do rate us excellent in the feedback form as a small token of appreciation for the hard work and time that we have put in. And let's focus you all in our subsequent session where we are going to continue working on deployment of this code as well as how we can include multiple freestyle projects and bind them into a single pipeline-based view. So we are going to look into those. So thank you so much for joining for today's session, everyone, and have a great evening ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys, wait, please. We are unmuting every one of you, and feel free to ask question if you have any. Team, can you please unmute everyone? Give the access to everyone to unmute themselves so they can ask the question if they have any.
Hello, this is Parveen Hussain. I just have one question about, can we get the recording of the initial session? I mean, the whole session actually, because the initial part was missed from my end.
Sure, Praveen. The team will be sharing the YouTube channel link. So within the next couple of hours, recording will be uploaded there, and you can access the session recording from there.
Any notification that we can receive, like through email or somewhere on LinkedIn?
Yeah, we will definitely send the email as well. But if you subscribe the YouTube channel, you will get notification once the recording will be uploaded.
Can you mention the YouTube channel name, please?
It's here. Yeah, any more questions, guys?
So this recording will be same any other videos in the YouTube channel?
Yes, yeah. You will get the recording and everything will be there.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Santosh here. Hello.
Yeah.
Santosh here. So it will cover all the things, right? Git, Jenkins,
Dockers and all the things. What are the tools available in DevOps, right?
I didn't get your question correctly. Please correct me.
So it
to-
during this course, it will cover all the tools like Git, Jenkins, Docker, and all the things, right? Or
No,
only Jenkins.
no, only Jenkins, and he covered the scripted pipeline only, just the basic pipeline.
Okay, so there are like two things. Don't get confused here. So in this webinar, the trainer has covered about Jenkins and the how Jenkins work, how to install Jenkins on the cloud environment or Windows environment, and how to set up the pipeline. But if you are willing to learn DevOps, so we are having a dedicated workshop, and I have shared the link in the chat window. So
Okay.
in this workshop, basically we are covering from very scratch, from the basics of the DevOps is. Then we are moving towards the cloud overview, AWS, Git, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, logic framework like Splunk, networks for infrastructure monitoring, Terraform, and microservices. Along with it, we are giving bonus sessions or bonus self-service program on the Linux fundamentals that is very much required for any successful DevOps engineers.
Yes. Yes. Okay then.
Hi, myself Supratik Jana, and I want to know about the actual structure if I want to continue with this particular thing. So, as I can see that Jenkins installation is being done, but I want to know about how to install the Jenkins as pod. So I want to know in details. So please let me know about how to get the details.
Okay, sure. I'm sharing my screen. So let me know if you all are able to see this screen. So this is our website, devopsuniversity.org.
Okay.
Right. So we are having various courses, various material, and study material also available here. So we are coming up with a certified DevOps professional workshop starting from 19th February. It will be a 6 weeks training program where we are having 14 tools and the curriculum details. You can click on here and you can get the details from here. That is covering we'll give you Linux fundamental, production DevOps, cloud overview, AWS, Git, Jenkins, Docker, Farm, Kubernetes, Ansible. So all these tools are being covered. Along with it, we'll be providing you all the material support to learn all those things. But if you wanted to learn by yourself, here under the resources tutorial, we have all these sections here. One of them is Jenkins. So you can go through the Jenkins and you can learn about how to set up the Jenkins and how to write your very first job. So all those things you can get it from here. But if you're looking for instructor-led training, we do have our specific workshop programs that we
Okay. So one more question that during the course, if I'm doing it is AWS or GCP, so that account means actually the free tier account, it will be provided or I have to open it from myself.
So it works in both the ways. We usually okay. So let me put it that way. For being a successful DevOps engineer, there are three things that are very much important. Very first, understanding of Linux environment or Linux operating system. So once someone is having a knowledge, it will be really helpful for working installation, running the commands, and troubleshooting the systems, as most of systems are being installed on the Linux-based systems. And second is cloud. Cloud is very much required. It doesn't matter whether you're using AWS, GCP, Azure, or any other cloud. And third is DevOps tools. So we'll be giving you fundamental Linux training self-paced course free of cost. For the cloud overview, trainer will be helping you understanding what is AWS, what all components are there, how it works, and he will be helping you to set up your own cloud environment for this entire training session. So the trainer will be helping you to set up for yourself, and it will be free for 1 year. So you are not going to pay anything for using that cloud environment during the training sessions.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I will get back and also I will visit this your site and I will get back to you.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
So,
Any more
Sachin,
questions?
one question from my end. Yeah. On the certifications, those you mentioned on those courses, so how do you, suggest for a QA, and then how those will be like fruitful for a QA?
Okay, let me. It's very good question, and I think it will help
Actually, in terms of
everyone.
the syllabus or context, I'm asking. Otherwise, I know like industrial organizations are asking for that, but like from the course
Sure.
perspective.
Sure. So basically, DevOps University is also providing DevOps certifications. Those are role-based certifications, and DevOps University is part of NASCOM also. So our all the certificates are globally verified and approved. So we have certifications like DevOps Foundation certification. I'm coming to your question, but like I'm giving you the brief idea about all the certificate of offering, and it will give you
Good.
the more detailed idea how it's going to work. So foundation certification is for the people those just wanted to acquaintance with the DevOps concept, right? They are not going to work as DevOps engineers. And then we have DevOps developer. So if we see in IT company, when we're developing the software, we have various roles, like developers are there, we have quality engineers are there, operation engineers are there, architects are there, senior engineering manager, directors, leaders are there, and some Scrum Master is there. So people like Scrum Master, product owners, they are not going to work as a DevOps engineer, so they can go with this DevOps Foundation program. People who are working for the development area, they can go with certified DevOps developer. People those are senior leadership, means like director, senior director, engineering managers, they can go with this DevOps executive program. People who are architect, those are choosing what tool they have to use, how to set up their pipeline, all people working for quality profile or the automation testing profile, they're also playing very vital role in the success of CI/CD pipeline. How to write the test script, they knew it, their content is writing it. But we are going to train them, okay, how Git works, how Jenkins works, and how can you include your jobs in the CI/CD pipeline? Or how can you set up your own CI/CD pipeline to make sure if every code make changes coming up, then it's being tested. Similarly, for the DevOps operational engineers, the people who are working in the support area, they are basically monitoring the application, they're managing the application production environment. So that is being covered in this certificate. And we have one certification that is called professional certification. This certification will help you to become as a DevOps engineer. So the training program that we are talking about, if you attend training program, you can easily crack DevOps Foundation, professional, quality engineer, operation, and the developer exams. With this program, you will get the access to certified DevOps professional certification exam. And this exam is an online exam that you can take this exam from anywhere. It has 30 questions. 70% is like you have to achieve the marks, then only you will get it. There's only one attempt, and you can once you clear the certification, your employer and other people can go and verify your certifications on our portal. This is globally verified certification, and the companies like Oracle, Salesforce, in India, Accenture, and there are so many companies. Those are our accredited partners, and certifications are valid in these companies. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes, and through that I got one more question. It's related to like say I am going for one of the certification, for example, for QA, right? And you mentioned that we should have some kind of the prerequisite, which is in terms of the knowledge of say Linux or say AWS, right? So before I start my course, am I going to get a list of all those prerequisite knowledge that I'll be needing for that course to complete successfully? Will I get that kind of the list over there?
Okay, let me put in that way. So basically, how this program works. So if you go for any of this workshop, let's suppose you are going for the professional workshop. So we usually recommend people to at least enroll into the program 1 week in advance. So we will be sending you all the details and we will be sharing the learning path with you. So once you enroll into the program, we will be giving you access to Linux Fundamental Self-Paced program. It's 6 hours program. You can learn by yourself on your pace. And right before the session, we will be having like one kickoff session where we will be explaining how the session will be going on, what all things you need to learn, where you will get the section recording, how you will get the assignments, how you will get the quiz, how you will get the other learning material. And the day one of the session will be starts from very scratch, explaining what is DevOps, how it works, and how it's helpful for any professional. And then slowly and gradually, we will be setting up the cloud environment, learning about the cloud, and then the day two will be starting, or day three will be starting with the DevOps tools. So it's once you will be enrolled to the program, then the trainer and our program manager will be taking care of your learning, starting from the Linux fundamental, cloud, and the DevOps.
Great, great. Thank you so much.
Hi team, this is Nihar. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question. Like in part of the session, like first part, I think this is more pertinent to that DevOps engineer or the support guy who like install those things in the environment like cloud or Jenkins server. But I'm more interested in the queue part, where is the creation of the pipeline. So my question was like, is it like if you create one standard pipeline for one of your project, can you reuse that pipeline in your later project, or you have to do it from scratch always?
Okay, it's a very good question. So usually when we you said the operation people are installing it, but when we talk about this professional workshop, we are starting from very scratch from the very beginning and taking it to the intermediate level, right? Installation is very important. The reason is when you are working in some organization, if you are joining some organization, they might be using some tools. Already they're using some tools, and the technology is changing very rapidly. And if they have to migrate to new tool, then as a DevOps engineer, you should know how those tools can be installed, what is the process are there, and what all steps you need to be taken care while before installing the tool, right? So it will really helpful for you if you know how these tools can be installed.
Yeah,
Second
I
thing,
understood that part. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. My question was
yeah, no
actually basically,
problem.
I understood
Yeah,
that the
and the
first,
second,
yeah, I'm not denying that the first part is not important or something. I'm saying that I'm more interested in the second part where you create that pipeline, and I'm just trying to understand, I mean, how much expertise you need in the Groovy, because the way I mean, in such a speed that the trainer did, I think for a beginner level, it is difficult to like have that skill, right? You need to understand, I mean, or visualize what are the steps you need for your project.
I do understand your concern, and it's very well concern. The reason is when the session will be starting, it will start from very basic. We'll be setting up very small steps in the Jenkins, very small pipeline setting up. But slowly and gradually, as session will be progress, you will be getting more confidence on setting up the more intuitive CI/CD pipelines. And the second answer to your second question, once we write CI/CD pipeline, can we use it in other project? So it's yes. Answer is yes. We can use it in other project, but as two projects or the various projects are not having having the same nature. We might have to tweak some of the things. Let's suppose in one product you're using Git as a version control or GitHub as a version control. Another product you're using Bitbucket. So you, if you have that knowledge, so you can use in your existing pipeline these configuration changes. Right. So if I take another example, like in some teams, people are using Maven, in some are they're using Gradle. So you can use the existing and but you can make some tweaks to adopt new tools to make configuration changes. Definitely, one pipeline can be used in other projects also. You need to make changes according to your project.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it can be tweaked, like you're saying. And like how much Groovy
Yes.
script expertise is needed here? Because I'm not sure whether those are standard Groovy script or it's some specific to like the pipeline commands or something is happening. Because I need to follow the code maybe later in my spare time. Yeah.
Okay. So uh, again, this is a very good question. The reason is, like, when the people are coming and they're asking, what programming languages I need for become a successful DevOps engineer, then the answer is there is no requirement to having any knowledge of the programming languages. It's good to have if you have knowledge of Groovy, if you have knowledge of Python. So these are good to have knowledges. For DevOps engineer, Linux knowledge is very much required. The reason, if you are using Git, if you are using Docker, if you are using Kubernetes, all these commands are very much close to the Linux commands. Right. So having knowledge on the Linux, it's very much important. And second, so generating the pipeline, there are two ways primarily. One is you can create your pipeline using the Jenkins UI. That is most of the companies are using. But those are the technically advanced companies, and those are moving towards infrastructure as a code. They started using the concept of shared pipeline with Jenkins Pipeline as a code. And this one is using the Groovy programming language for writing the pipeline. But here we are not writing any program, we are writing a script. And Jenkins is also helping us to write those scripts. So if you have basic knowledge, it is more than sufficient for you to write a Jenkins pipeline as a code. It's not mandatory.
The Groovy skill set you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the Groovy skill good to have. If you know basics of the Groovy scripts syntax, it's more than sufficient. The reason is you can use the Jenkins to generate these scripts.
Yes, all right, okay. Or maybe you need to regenerate some steps and maybe tweak it later based on your requirements.
You are creating your very first project, right? Once you have it will take one-time effort, and after that, the beauty of the panel. After that, you take basic tweaks that you can do using the Jenkins.
Yes, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for your explanation.
And guys. Any more questions, guys? The topic related to the career guidance, if you need any.
Hello. Yeah, Sachin, Santosh here. Could you please mail to us like what are the course we need to cover? What are the tools?
Sure.
Thank you.
You can drop your email ID in the chat window, or you can write us here at train.org, and team will send you all the required details. I am giving in the chat window.
So basically, see, from I am from production support engineer. So this certification will help me on that. So I'm asking.
Definitely it will help you. Definitely it will help you.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely it will help. If you're coming from the support background, so I hope you must have seen the Kubernetes is very much required nowadays. Almost all the companies are migrating to the Kubernetes. And then Ansible for the configuration management, for logging, either Splunk or ELK are being used for infrastructure monitoring Negois is being used. Terraform is also being used in the cloud environment, and most of the companies are nowadays migrating or modernizing their monolithic application to the microservice architecture. So all those things are being covered here in this part. You can see. Yeah, and I would request my team, please share the Google review link with the audience so people can share their feedback, their reviews for us, and it will be really, really helpful for us, guys.
Sure,
And
sure.
keep asking the question, and we are more than happy to answer all the questions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sachin, for organizing such interesting session, and maybe lots of people will find some good knowledge here.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, guys. It's really encouraging, and I would request all of you to share your reviews. It should not take more than a minute or so. If you click on this one and can give us a quick feedback. I shared a link with you.
Surely, Sachin.
Sure, Sachin. We'll appreciate your walkthrough reviews. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sure. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.